On and off for the past 2 years, I have been working on completing my first post-college short film, His Real Name. Is it a short film though? Because the runtime is like about 45 minutes and some source somewhere classified anything over like 40 minutes to be a feature film, but I feel like 45 minutes isn't enough to consider it a feature film. I just feel wrong calling it a feature film, but it feels like way too long to just be called a show. I made a film, okay? His Real Name is about a guy played by my friend Jake Reed trying to push through his negative thoughts just to do what makes him happy and make music. But after constant arguing with the personification of his negative thoughts, played by my friend Nathaniel Whitlinger, he has to uncover the true origin of his staticky tormentor in what I hope to be a bit of a twist, or a follow-through rather, of the classic personified insecurity story.
You suck! You're lazy, pathetic, not worth others' time, that's all you are, Joe!
Why are you doing this to me?
The sooner you realize these things, the sooner you stop making a fool out of yourself. No one else is going to give it to you straight except me.
This was by far the most work-intensive film project that I've ever done, mostly because of everything that I had to do in post-production, from the editing to the visual effects to the sound editing and the soundtrack.
What'd you do, buddy?
A moment of it, it just like went and smacked me in the...
Not only am I the director, writer, producer, lighting, sound guy, but I'm also the on-set medic.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to take a look at your eye.
Well, it wasn't my eye, it was the temple.
Oh, it looks fine. Get back to work.
Now that I can officially call myself finished with the final cut, I can also say it's by far the most rewarding film I've ever worked on. Through the challenges of having the entire production in my own hands, I can for sure say that I learned a lot about creativity, which I would like to share with you right now. Number 1, revise. Let's get the most negative point out of the way first. Negative because this is something that I wish I did more of. It's true what they say that revising your story is the most important part of storytelling in any medium. And only after spending months watching my footage and seeing that for the most part the words of my script were set in stone did I realize how much I wish I just took more time to tighten things up. Of course, every creator is going to nitpick their work and find things that they want to change and ultimately can't. Also, every creative work has to have a deadline, or else we'd keep making changes forever, searching for perfection. But I know I never really gave my script the attention that I was finally giving it in the editing process. I remember being pretty hasty about getting Jake and Nathaniel together to start filming as fast as possible. In the future, I know I will be giving my scripts a little more attention and breathing room during the script writing process, rather than the film editing process. Number 2, you're always improving. This is the more positive flip side to the previous point. I look back on a lot of these shots, how they were framed, which lenses were used, the lighting, the audio, and I know I could literally do all of it much better right now, which is very easy to get frustrated with. But I have to call to attention the fact that everything was shot well over a year ago, and the fact that I can look back on this and see all the ways in which I could improve is a major sign of my growth as a filmmaker. Not only that, but I have to be a lot more fair to myself and say literally this project, in many ways, is how I learned to be a better filmmaker. And the fact that I've worked on so many different projects in the past year that I can consider some of these shots as far below my current skill is something to be pretty grateful for. That I had so many opportunities to learn and get better. Thinking forward, I also know that at any given point I will be looking back on past work that I once considered the pinnacle of my skill and also find it kind of crappy. Or in nicer words, see all the ways that I could improve it now with my current experience. Number 3, strive for memorable. You know who doesn't care if I lived up to my potential as a filmmaker? The audience! The audience is going to judge a movie for exactly what's put in front of them. So in those terms of good and bad, did I make a good film? Did I make a bad film? Did I make a film with some good parts and some bad parts? Did I make a film that some people will find good and some people will find bad? I don't know. Rather than have the question of how can I make this good constantly on my mind during the filmmaking process, I reframed that to how can I make this memorable? Because the truth is, regardless of what an audience thinks of it, most people are really going to only watch this one time. Even if it gets selected at a film festival, that audience is probably going to see this one time and one time only. So in every step of this process, from the storytelling and themes, to the visuals, to the sound, my only goal was to use everything in my power to make the experience as memorable as possible. Considering originality, subverting expectations, and standing out were the main factors that drove most of how this film was executed. Number 4. Subliminal Inspiration. During pretty much every stage of the creative process for His Real Name, I would identify and expose myself to pieces of media that inspired me in one way or another for this film, even if I wasn't using any element of the media directly. Some things were a little more direct, like identifying specific characters for Nathaniel to base his performance off of. But instead of meticulously watching clips of these characters, I really just directed his voice and physical acting based on what resonated with me about these characters. If I directed based on what stuck with me all these years after seeing these characters, then maybe Nathaniel's character will stick with an audience too. But mostly, finding a good tone was important to me. Gloomy and intense in the right moments, but pulled back with the right amount of campiness, cynicism, and humor. With finding this tone especially, but pretty much every part of the creative process, I was constantly flooding my environment with inspiration, or always trying to find inspiration in everything. Through creating this environment of inspiration, I let creative ideas and solutions come to me more subconsciously, which I hope allows for more powerful and original ideas. Number 5. Step outside yourself. So this mostly applies to the making of the soundtrack. While the story and the characters feel pretty personal to me, the music I chose to represent them and what they're going through kind of felt outside of myself. It's hard to describe in any other way other than just saying the music doesn't sound like me. I've written lots of songs in the past that I felt like I was trying to interpret my thoughts and feelings into notes and lyrics, like I could only turn inward to find the creative flow of these pieces. Now for the soundtrack, I have a frame of reference that's outside of myself for what's guiding the music. The story, the cinematography, even the pacing of the edit dictating the timing and tempo of certain tracks. In other words, I'm no longer writing for me, I'm writing for characters. And musically, this opened me up to so many more ideas that I haven't explored before, being influenced by artists and genres I never really felt like I was allowed to explore before. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, feeling like I wasn't allowed to create in a certain way. Like, who am I to be influenced by drum and bass when I'm not part of the scene, or could never write a song with as good of production as its major artists? Or why would I even think to make a song in the genre of like 90s hard rock, or take notes from the style of Owl City? I'm not trying to be any of those styles in the music I've written before.
If you release a song of that quality, people will know right away.
People will know what?
Well, that you're an imposter. Trying so desperately to fit in with the big leagues while sticking out like a sore thumb.
But instead of giving into imposter syndrome, I trusted that these were the best creative musical choices I wanted to make for these characters, to which I hope gives the film a unique and diverse soundscape. With lyrics too, I've been allowing myself to write things I wouldn't be writing as an expression of just myself, and instead, it feels like I'm writing the libretto of a musical. Number 6. Just make it. I remember somebody telling me this a long time ago, that the way you move up in the film industry is you move up the ladder. Like, first you start out as a PA, then you have to prove yourself worthy of being, whatever next step up you want to be, a first AC, moving up to a director of photography, and then finally, if you're good enough, you get to be a director, having all those previous roles under your belt. So then I was like, okay, cool. If I want to write or direct or any of those higher level positions, I better start out as a PA and work my way up from there. But then I wondered, how did some of my favorite directors start out? Which projects did Taika Waititi work on as a PA? How did Edgar Wright work his way up the ladder? And a quick IMDb search can tell you, they just went right into directing. Small, low budget, not very widely known stuff, of course, but they just went for it. They got a small crew together to just make what they wanted to make. By firmly planning their creative visions and talents from the start, that's what got them noticed at festivals and led them to larger scale opportunities.
You can make a great movie on any scale, on any budget. It's all really down to how you tell the story.
Then I started hearing lots of people on TikTok also denouncing the move up the ladder path to success, and further promoting the just do what you want to do, make what you want to make path to success. Obviously, everyone's story and situations and creative potential is different. I'm sure that there are many talented, yet undiscovered filmmakers out there who just haven't been in the right place at the right time yet. I'm also sure there are still plenty of success stories from people who did work their way up. And I do believe that there is value in taking on lower level positions as you learn more about the craft and to be in the presence of higher up creatives and to be able to observe how they work. But as for myself right now, I'm not going to let my lack of industry experience deter me from making the films that I want to make any longer. I don't even know if writing and directing is what I want to be successful in, but all I know is doing this project with the people I care about brought so much meaning into my life. Not to mention, just being creative and telling stories is the best outlet for my own struggles and insecurities and allows me to learn something about myself during the process. And if that's the worst case scenario for an unsuccessful filmmaker, then I have no reason to give up this passion of mine anytime soon.
Oh, sorry. I gotta do this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because guess what?
action shot.
That lens don't have autofocus. That's a man's lens right there.
Excuse me? That's really sexist of you.
Where's Zero? I've been out all day.
Ooh, I got the camera. Ooh.
I am ready whenever you are.
I'm panicking right now.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm super panicking.
Close the door. Point it from where you want it. Is that what you need? Hey. Hey. Don't give up. You'll be on champ. Hey. Don't give up.
That's so weird.
Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's Jake.